Hello, thank you for tuning in. It's Stuart the Unrepentant Atheist, and here's my latest video. And today we're going to be looking at Alex O'Connor's performance on the Piers Morgan show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, in which Alex presents his point of view that the monarchy should be abolished. So let's just have a look. Piers Morgan has started off the conversation with a brief presentation, effectively attacking Harry and Meghan for injecting poison into the royal family via Harry's book that he released, etc. And it's been highlighted that 78% of young people have said that they don't care for the monarchy. 40% apparently would like to see the monarchy abolished, or for us to have a elected head of state. So let's just see how it goes. We'll be looking mainly at what Alex has got to say.
Their privacy, because the damage that these two are doing is becoming very clear. Protesters chanting "Not my king" tried to disrupt a visit by the king and queen to Liverpool today.
Not my king! 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 Not my king!
But, and it's a really good but, there's some hope.
Well, it's a good but, and there's hope, depending on your point of view.
Look at what these school children did, who were there, had other ideas.
Now they're obviously chanting for the king and the queen. If you look carefully, you'll see that they're all dressed with. They look to me like pupils from a private school. I'm fairly certain that is the case based on how they're dressed. But fair enough. So they're the pro-royalists, and we've got the anti-royalists on the other side.
I love it. That's the future, surely. Now, joining me now is the host of the Big Fish podcast.
Yeah, but the point is, the private school children, they would have been bussed in by the school, obviously waving their flags, etc. And it was no effort for them to be there, and I'm fairly sure that that was all orchestrated by the teachers. On the other hand, the anti-royalists actually made the journey in. They made their placards and signs, etc., and actually put some real effort into opposing the monarchy.
Spencer Matthews and Alex O'Connor, who is the host of the Within Reason podcast and is an anti-monarchist, plus writer and commentator Larissa Kennedy. Well, welcome to all of you. So, Spencer, you're related to the royal.
Okay, we're just going to move forward a bit. You'll have to excuse me because I haven't got time to listen to everybody in this. So yeah, this Spencer fellow, he's got his own podcast. His brother is married to Pippa. Is married to Pippa Middleton, Kate Middleton's sister. So, wow, isn't that impressive? He's got a royal connection. Imagine all the royal garden tea parties he's been to. He could tell a story or two. So, but let's just move past what he's got to say, which is obviously going to be in favour of the monarchy, and move and listen to what Alex got to say.
Which is exactly, the alternative would be to have an elected head of state, that's what you would prefer, is it?
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that the poll was shocking and said that some people would even prefer an elected head of state, as if this is some kind of radical idea.
Well, it is for this country.
I don't think it's a surprise that young people in this country are quite mystified by this bizarre relic of our constitution that still relies on the notion that hereditary political office is a legitimate institution.
So you think they've looked at, for example, the premiership of Boris Johnson and Liz Truss over here, or Donald Trump in America, thought, you know what we need? Get rid of the stable royal family as the head of our country. Let's go for a Boris and a Don. You think people have done that in this country?
Well, unfortunately,
do you think that's what British people actually think about elected officials? In other words, be careful what you wish for. They're not elected, no. They have no real executive power. But what they do provide, in my estimation...
What I find laughable about this is that Piers Morgan is the very one that voted for Boris Johnson. And when Alex suggests that we should have an elected head of state, he says, so you want somebody like Boris Johnson, do you?
They provide us with something unique. When King Charles gets crowned at the coronation in a week and a half's time, the whole world will watch, and they will see our country at its best, doing what very...
I've got to just cut in here and just make my own point of view. This is absolutely ludicrous that we've got, royalty is ludicrous anyway, I'll state my position right now. But when the Queen died, Charles became king. Why didn't they get it all done and dusted then? Why do we have to wait 6 months down the line and drag it out? They could have done the whole thing. They could have buried the Queen, and they could have had the coronation on the same day to save the money.
Very few places can do. The pomp, the pageantry, the military procession. And it's something to make us all feel proud. What's wrong with that?
Well, nothing, but don't do it on my dime. I don't see why.
It's not on your dime.
It is. This is being
Why is it on your dime?
This is being funded by the taxpayer.
Tourism pays for it.
Tourism, look, if it were true that this ceremony is essentially going to pay for itself, then why is it that the government and the king felt it necessary to say that this would be a service that had value for the taxpayer? Why are the taxpayers...
Do you think that people would not visit Britain if there was no monarchy? Are people actually visiting Britain just simply to go to Buckingham Palace, hoping for a glimpse of the king? Crazy idea. Well, at least I hope people are not just coming here to see Buckingham Palace and royalty. I hope not.
Taxpayers even involved at all?
No.
Why can't the royal
family... But the taxpayer gets the money back.
Pay themselves back with the money that we're told...
gets the money back from tourism. That's the point.
Yeah.
He hasn't got any statistics to back up that claim.
The net cost of the royal family is a positive. It don't cost us anything. So
well, he's making claims there, and he's got no figures to back that up. I'm surprised actually that Alex does not challenge him on that and say, well, what are your figures? Where are you getting your statistics from?
That argument never washes with me because they actually bring more than they cost. So then you're down...
That's the third time he's made that claim, and Alex still hasn't challenged him.
I don't like the fact these people are privileged and live in palaces and so on. But they perform hundreds of duties a year. I mean, you know this better than anyone about the amount of work. Let's just bring Spencer back in. You know better than anybody the amount of work they all do, right? I mean,
yeah, really hard back-breaking work. Sipping champagne at ceremonial openings of town halls, etc., etc.
Work hard.
Well, no. Well, just to be clear, I'm not.
I
can't speak from for them.
But you're aware of the work they do.
As an observer, they're a very hard-working family that symbolise patriotism, in this country, and the majority of them have dedicated their entire lives to service to help Britain. That's all they really.
A hard-working family is, let's see, a nurse who's working about 60 hours a week, like 12-hour shifts. A man who works, the husband who maybe is working in Amazon, and he's doing 10-hour shifts, and he's got a handheld computer which is chasing him around the warehouse. That's a hard-working family. And not people that are being chauffeured around in Rolls Royces and eating cheese, having cheese and wine parties and caviar and champagne, etc. Getting the red carpet rolled out and staying in top class accommodation. It's crazy to call that hard-working British family.
You try to do.
We're often told that we don't really have a good alternative to monarchy in this country, but I feel like we're already living it. I'm told, on the one hand, when I complain about the illegitimate influence that the monarchy has over the politics of this country, that they don't really have any power at all. They don't really do anything. They cut a few ribbons here and there, except for the legal and tax exemptions that they have, the influence over the Prime Minister. Perhaps this is true.
You're missing the point.
Maybe they really don't have the power, but
you're missing the
same
point.
token that somehow, if I therefore suggest that we should get rid of them altogether, they're somehow integral to the upkeep of the political system.
No, they're not.
Royalists seem...
Now, it sounds to me like Alex has come with that point already prepared. He's sat down at home with his desk and he's actually spent some time working on that. He's internalized it, memorized it, and he hasn't been able to get the whole lot out. Piers has actually interrupted him there and talked over him, ruined his point.
Seem to want to have their
I don't argue.
Yeah, you see what he said there. I actually wrote that down. He's saying, I thought that was quite a good one actually. He's saying that the royals want to have their Victoria sponge cake and eat it as well. I think that was quite a good one.
Yeah, all that is ceremonial.
These are difficult to reconcile.
All that stuff is ceremonial to me. They don't have any executive power. They don't make the laws that we abide. They provide And we saw this clearly in the COVID pandemic when the Queen went on national television and acted like a national comfort blanket. They are there as a constant above all the political fray and turmoil. And when we have the big royal events, there are millions and tens of millions around the world who look at our country in a favourable light. And you cannot calculate, to me, that value just in what you think it costs to put.
I wonder if that's really true. I mean, for you guys out there who are not British, are you sitting at home and watching all these expensive ceremonies, all the pomp and circumstance, golden coaches, red carpets, Westminster Abbey, crowns, crown jewels, and all that kind of stuff, or, you know, stiff British faces? Are you looking at all that and saying, oh, British royalty is so admirable. It makes Britain such a great, great country. Are you really thinking that? I don't think so. I think you're sitting in your countries, in your republics, and thinking, thank goodness that we haven't got royalty.
Them in palaces and things, because the value, in my view, if you take it in totality, outweighs that. And that's where their value lies to me. Spencer, you do a great podcast. I've been on it. You talk a lot about...
Okay, we're going to stop there and just sort of move forward past that. I think you'll forgive me for that. Let's keep going.
To Meghan and Harry, but part of my problem with what they did is they weaponized things like racism and mental health, and it caused a lot of damage to the reputation of the royals, not just here but abroad. And I think, I mean, just to bring you back in, Alex, there's no doubt in my mind that has contributed to young people, and particularly I suspect younger people of colour in this country, who have bought in perhaps by believing what they've been hearing, that the royal family has a group of racists amongst them. And that's not going to make you like an institution. It's going to make you want to get rid of it.
Sure, well, I wouldn't know. There are a few things I find less interesting in this world than the sort of private affairs of Harry and Meghan, or indeed the public affairs of them either. But the problems of the monarchy predate these two individuals. I mean, there are plenty of ways, to respond to what you were saying earlier, to engender national spirit and buttress the economy that don't involve subscription to a controversial hereditary dynasty, whose right to rule is still, if I might be allowed to remind you, officially legitimized by the authority of an Anglican God that doesn't...
No, you're not allowed to say that. Off with his head.
...exist. I'm sorry, I just can't take this seriously. I understand
You're
why
an
they
atheist anti-monarchy.
I understand why they have to keep up with the crowns and the caves, because without these, who are these people? Nothing more than thinly
Well, I might say the same about you. I mean, who are you? Who are you, an atheist?
Who are you? It's like you're not allowed to be an anti-monarchist. You're not allowed to criticise. What credentials do you need in order to express a point of view in this free speech democracy that we've got? What is he going to suggest?
Atheist anti-monarchist to tell me how this country should be run.
Right. I think
Why do you have more
rights? The only
rights?
qualification a person needs to criticise the head of state is citizenry. Within that state, I'd be quite concerned if you disagreed with that. I think that, look...
With what?
If you thought that you require more of a reason to criticise your head of state than just being supposedly a subject to that head of state.
Well, he's making the point that I just made, so I suppose I second-guessed him. So, well done, Alex. Well rebutted, although I thought you could have been a bit clearer.
I mean, at the moment somebody claims the right to rule over me by birthright, I think I sort of automatically adopt the right to criticise them too. I'm not the one who...
Just to be clear, you'd rather be ruled by Boris Johnson.
I'm not the one who...
Well, there he goes again. He's coming back, you see. He voted for Boris Johnson. He's a Tory to his core. And yet he keeps bringing back Boris Johnson like he's this, this buffoon and this ogre that is the worst kind of head of state one could ever possibly imagine. And it's going to be far worse, even as an elected head of state, than an unelected royalty.
Would you rather be ruled by Boris Johnson?
I'd rather have an elected head of state, yes.
Yeah, like Boris Johnson or Liz Truss.
I'd much
Well,
rather.
it's irrelevant. If somebody isn't if somebody's elected, if by democratic means they are in power, either as government or a head of state, then they've got democratic legitimacy. Doesn't matter if it's a Loch Ness monster. So this thing about, even if it's Boris Johnson, it's completely... I just can't believe such pathetic, unintelligent points that Piers Morgan just keeps making.
You can see the problem with elected heads of state. They're often complete...
Do you not see stability in the royal family in the sense that they have...
Well, in what sense is it a problem if you've got a democratically elected head of state, that it turns out people don't like. The good thing there is you can get rid of them. And I'm not too sure it was. I think it was Tony Benn, a British socialist, who said that the good thing about our system is if you don't like somebody, you can get rid of them. And with royalty, you can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of them ever. Even if they die, then there's a new one.
Have always been there, and kind of, you know, if they do continue, will always be there, whereas politicians kind of come and go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And politicians, you know, are in 1 minute, and then somebody does something and all of a sudden they're ousted, and also...
Yeah, well, thank good they're ousted. That's called democracy. Why isn't Alex speaking up on some of these points?
It's typically, you'll always have kind of 50% of the country that dislikes any particular kind of head of state, you know, and so aren't the figures just on paper for the royal family better than any politician in history?
Perhaps, but aren't you troubled by the incessant referral to these people as Highness and Majesty? Highness is a relative
Well, I'll
term.
tell you what I'm more offended by.
Highness is a relative
Tell you what I'm
term.
more offended
Higher
by.
than what, Piers?
I'm more
Higher
offended.
than what? And on what grounds?
Let me tell you, I'm more offended by calling Boris Johnson the Right Honourable Gentleman.
We
Okay.
could probably do with getting
All right.
rid of that.
So when
too,
it
yeah.
He's coming back to us 4 times now. He's talked about Boris Johnson. I'm beginning to think that he's got some kind of a thing for Boris Johnson, which I find really strange, given that he voted for him.
comes to titles, that gives me more of a problem than calling Charles King. Anyway, got to leave it there. We're going to debate the Right Honourable Boris Johnson.
Okay, well, that's it. I have to say that I was a little bit disappointed with Alex's performance. I thought he let Piers talk over him. I thought there were times when he could have interrupted and talked over other people to get his points in. And let's face it, you've got to do that in these kind of situations. On these shows, there's limited amount of time, and it just seemed to me that Piers was dominating him a bit. And even this guy, even the other guy, Spencer, he was given time to talk. He was making points. Many times Alex could have come in and corrected him, rebutted him, etc. And I just thought that I don't know, maybe because of lack of experience. I'm not saying I could have done better, of course, but I just think that Alex could have asserted himself a bit more and been a bit less shy and been more charismatic. Well, that's my view. Let me know what you think. He made some good points, of course, but I just think he lacked a bit of punch. He could have done better. That's all for now. Be back again soon with another video. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. Bye for now.